Welcome to Work on Workplace Relations with Aastha. This is our Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time weekly live show. And I am Aastha Tatia, your happiness coach. Super excited to be here with all of you. A very, very warm welcome to all those of you who are joining in, waiting for more of you to join in. Um, so let me know, drop in a hi as you join in so that I know who's here and I can welcome you. And at the same time, I want to let you know we are live on three platforms all at the same time: YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So, a very, very warm welcome waiting for you all to be here because this, hi Mukta, good evening. Good evening. So this Sunday evening live is, it is focused on workplace relationships. Absolutely, whatever you're dealing with at your workplace, we try and pick up aspects which may be directly or indirectly impacting, what's happening there, and we try to delve a little deeper into those aspects, seeing how they are impacting your whole experience at workplace and what can you really do about it. Yeah, that's the whole idea. So, once again, a very warm welcome. And, I'm always very, very excited to join you all live. Saturdays, Sundays are very, very special because this is where I get to interact. There are experiences that you all share, your perspectives, there are some questions. So, it's learning together, and that is very, very exciting. Great. So today, we'll be talking about focusing more on what your co-workers are doing. Is that something that resonates with you? Is that something that you are doing? You find yourself, you catch yourself focusing more on what your co-workers are doing, which could be maybe, your boss, your colleagues, teammates, subordinates. वो क्या कर रहे हैं, कैसे कर रहे हैं, all of that. If that is what plays on your mind, if that is what you're constantly using to create your experiences, then I want to delve a little deeper into two aspects. One is what is the impact, two, and what must you do about it, what is really needed there to maybe take your experience to the next level, right? So let's first understand what is the impact. If you are focusing on what your coworkers are doing, so I think first question that you need to ask yourself is that, am I really focusing on what my coworkers are doing? And how do you get that? How do you ascertain that? It's by checking that every time at your workplace, any situation that you're a part of, any interaction that you are a part of, it's a one-on-one, a group thing, uh, whatever your experience is of that interaction is determined by what the other person is doing. How is he behaving? How is he going about doing his work? How is he conducting himself? सामने वाला क्या कर रहा है? अगर मेरा एक्सपीरियंस उससे डिटर्मिन हो रहा है, then yes, I'm somewhere focusing on what coworkers are doing. And if you're doing that very often, if you find that most of the times, the majority of the times, that's what I'm doing, and that's where I am deriving my experiences from, then yes, that's what you're doing. Now, is it wrong? Is it right? Well, it's not a matter of right or wrong. Let's delve a little deeper into what is the impact it has. So what is what really happens when you actually are constantly looking at what is the other person doing? Somewhere you're judging that, and somewhere you are in your mind or maybe aloud questioning, why is the person doing this? And only if he could do something else, or only if he could change or turn around whatever he's doing, I think my experience is going to be a little better. Yeah, so I'm getting irritated because the other person is doing it in so and so manner. I am getting frustrated, or I am falling short of my targets, or I am missing the deadlines because the other person is not doing XYZ. He's not doing it the way he's supposed to do. So when I'm constantly looking at what he's doing or not doing, and that is basically defining my experiences, then what is the impact it has? So I think, like we've spoken earlier also, most of the times, um, Do you really feel in control of the situation when you are, somewhere putting all that responsibility on the other person? When you are observing that person, and I maybe observing, I don't know if that's the right word that I would want to use here, but because it's not just observing, you end up judging also somewhere, right? You end up questioning also the behaviors. If you're just observing, if you're just kind of looking at analyzing and seeing how it's working and what maybe you can do about it, absolutely fine, works fine, right? But if you are questioning, if you are judging the other person, if you are being very, very critical of their behavior, their actions, always trying to pick up something which is not working, which is missing, if that's what goes on, then somewhere it will disempower you. Why? Because you have put all the responsibility on their shoulders. Only when they do this will happen. Only when they are going to behave in such manner, this will happen. Because they are not doing it, this is happening. So somewhere you've put that responsibility there. And why have you done that? Because we don't want to take that responsibility. It is convenient. Blaming, questioning, doubting the other person, putting that entire responsibility on somebody else is easy way out. उसमें मुझे काम करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Then I completely put it on the other person. वो जब तक नहीं करेगा मैं क्या करूं? एक्सपीरियंस ऐसा क्यों है, एनवायरमेंट ऐसा क्यों है, अरे भाई सामने वाला ऐसा कर रहा है. सो I cannot really do anything about it, right? So one, we want to put that responsibility on the other person. And as I'm speaking, I really want you to reflect, because not everything may be true for you, but in some shape or form, a flavor of it you'll be able to resonate with, and that's what you need to see. It's not about aap aisa kar rahe ho, but it's more about reflecting on what am I doing, what really goes on here, and only you can figure that out. So it's about reflecting and being honest with yourself ki what is really happening. So when you put that responsibility on somebody else, how does it make you feel? Now, these are some of the questions you need to ask yourself. One, when I'm focusing, what's the whole context? Two, as I am focusing more and more, whatever that experience is, it's going to grow bigger. If it is a disempowering, unpleasant experience, it'll grow bigger. And that is why we find ourselves doing that again and again, again and again, and feeling that disempowerment, whether it's the boss, whether it's the colleague, we are constantly questioning and dependent on them to have a good experience. Now, then the control is in whose hands? Control, we feel it seems to be in the other person's hand, right? And we end up almost secretly all the time wishing for them to change, for them to behave in some other way, when that doesn't happen, because that's not in my control. I cannot impact it, maybe beyond a point. I can try and influence, but the other person getting influenced or not is in their hands. I can really do nothing about it. However, that's what we want, because we have put the entire onus on the other person. So, on one hand, I know unless the other person changes, my experience will not change. And the other thing is, I feel helpless because I cannot control what the other person does. So, it's kind of a contradictory situation that I land up in. And there is a struggle, there's a tussle with me, myself. So I'm not speaking to the other person, I'm not speaking to anybody else. I create one story in my head, right? And then there's another contradictory one which is countering it. So दोनों तरफ का वो गेम मेरे बीच में ही चलता जा रहा है. ऐसा नहीं हो रहा, क्यों नहीं हो रहा, ये नहीं हो रहा. Logically I understand, I can't control, I can't do much about it. And then there's this all of this that's happening, right? And that pulls me down. What we don't realize in the process, there's one thing that keeps happening, and I think that's what I want to focus on today. uh, that I am somewhere, if I may use a word, it's a strong word. I somewhere damage myself in the process. Why do I use the word damage? Because that's where I see so many leaders getting impacted by what the other people are doing, and getting impacted to an extent where it is impacting their self confidence, things which are fundamental to your existence and to your whole experience as an individual. So self esteem, self confidence, expression. People find themselves in a state of completely, they're frozen, cannot express themselves, don't know what to say, how to say. And there's so many different experiences, unique experiences that every leader has, but struggling big time, only because the whole focus is on what the other person is doing and how that is impacting me. Who lets you get impacted? Who is asking or who is forcing me to get impacted by what's happening outside? I am doing it. Do you see that? It's me, myself. I am inflicting that pain on me. Why? Because of the meaning that I am attaching to whatever is happening out there. Basis my belief system, I attach some significance, meaning to all that is happening there. I continuously keep doing that. In the process, it impacts me massively, because then I make it all about myself also. He's doing this because he doesn't like me, he's doing this because I'm not competent, he's doing this because I don't deserve. Depending upon who the other person is, we draw those inferences. If it's a boss, then I get into a different whole game. If it's a colleague, then it's a different game altogether. He wants to take away all the credit, he wants to he's a competitor, he wants doesn't want me to grow, he doesn't want me to support, he doesn't divulge any information. And my whole world is revolving around what the other person is doing, and what does that mean about me. So the problem arises when I make everything that I'm going through, or whatever the other person is doing, I make all of it about me. When I'm not able to look at it distinctly, that okay, what he's doing has got nothing to do about me or with me. When I'm not able to see that that could mean so many different things, and in the process of damaging myself, I start to lose that power of thinking rationally of what can I really do about it. Okay, if this is bothering me, can I go and have a conversation? What could be the possible to do's? I just miss out on that. I don't even go and check. I don't even go and question. I am just busy living in my own stories. So much so that something which starts as a very, very mild expression, a very, very mild feeling experience, it grows into something very, very massive. And because I've not spoken about it to anybody, I think, believe, and operate with whatever limited knowledge I have. ये तो ऐसे ही होता है. If the other person is if he's let's say not inviting me to the meeting or not asking me to come to the meeting, then probably I'm not good enough. I'm not needed in the meeting because I don't think I can add much value. We attach a world of meanings to it, but we will not do a simple task of walking up to the person and asking that, can I be a part of the meeting if I really want to be, or is there some specific reason why I'm not being included, am I not needed there? We can't do that because we're not in that zone of thinking. We are so in the grip of our beliefs, and therefore while we are focusing on what these people are doing, we completely miss out on the whole thing, right? So I'd say, okay, if this is happening and it is having a certain impact, so one thing could be I go on staying in this mode, living like this. The other thing could be, can I take this as an opportunity? How? I want to talk about that, but I'll just see. Okay, Mukta. Yeah, absolutely true. Yes, I think, yeah, that's the fundamental, the conditioning is absolutely is to basically look out and derive all the meanings, everything basis what's happening outside. And you're right, we've not been taught to really turn inwards and see that that's a possibility, that I can turn around the whole experience, that I have the power, that I have the control if I want to take that control. So you're right, that's how we've been conditioned. And that's what we've been doing throughout our upbringing. That's what we've been doing all our lives. And we carry all of it to our workplace also. And that has a certain impact. So while that's what we've been doing, we've been conditioned to do, great. But can I now, if I want to turn it around, how about taking that control in my hands, So logically I understand ठीक है ऐसा हो सकता है मेरा belief system है मैं वहां से operate कर रहा हूँ but in terms of action everyday basis when I go through it what can I do about it. So I think one very important thing which I think when I started practicing it didn't come very easy because the conditioning was so strong, but I think that has been a game changer for me, which is to build the muscle to catch yourself. Awareness, I think awareness is the beginning of any change that you want to bring about. So every time at your workplace when you're interacting with anybody, whether it's your boss, your colleague, your subordinate, a client, any stakeholder, when you're interacting, if only you can start to be aware, which means instead of focusing on, and when you bring that awareness means first you bring the awareness, what am I doing? So you will catch yourself, okay, I'm again focusing on the other person, his behavior, questioning it, wishing that, or judging, and then wishing for him to change, do it some other way, and getting impacted by it. Okay, great. Now that I have caught myself, can I every time question what is here? Or what about his words? What about his body language? What about his actions is triggering me? Right? If there's nothing that's triggering you, you have a pleasant interaction, great. That's forwarding you, that's serving you. Amazing. By all means, observe, go ahead, do that. But any area, any situation, any interaction where it is disempowering for you and where you are wishing, things to change and blaming the other person, that's where you need to ask that question to yourself. What about him is triggering me? And every time you ask that question, you may not get an answer instantly, but you may need to reflect a little bit. You will surely get an answer, which will, and you'll see a pattern there. So the first time you're going to ask, maybe it'll need a little reflection. And you get down to, I'd say, the smallest bit that you can get down to, which is, okay, what about him? So maybe, his whole body language. So what about his body language was triggering me? So I think because one, he was standing with folded hands and he was looking somewhere else as if he was not interested. Okay, so what about that is triggering me? What does that mean for me? If that's what he was doing, what does it mean for me? Okay, that means that he's just not interested. Okay, so what? So probably he thinks I'm not good enough. Now that's going to be a unique meaning significance for each of us, right? So maybe, let's say, I'm just taking it on one track, you need to see for yourself. So maybe he thinks I'm not good enough, I'm not bringing much value. Maybe he thought I'm wasting his time, and therefore he was like just looking here and there, wasn't much interested. Okay, so what does that mean? So that means then that I'm not good enough. What does that mean? That means that, do I even deserve to be here? And this is when I say, what does that mean? So what will it lead to? All of these questions you're asking to yourself. It's your version of the story that you need to confront, right? Because you've never gotten into that depth. You've never bothered to look at it. And when you keep going, asking yourself, so what? So what? What will this lead to? What does this mean? What's the big deal? When you go on asking all of these things and you go one layer deeper, deeper, it's not going to be easy. Initially, 3, 4, you'll be able to answer quickly. Then, as you go deeper, it'll become a little more difficult. You'll be like, may need a little thinking, may need a little more reflection. Okay, you may be stuck. But I'd say when you don't give up and you keep going, you will ultimately reach to something which is core, which is that belief, which is what is governing you. And that's where, when you do it again and again, you will see a pattern, and that will give you an indication that here is some area that I can work upon. Here's something that needs my attention within me. because this is what gets triggered every time the other person does this. So the other person is no, his behavior in itself inherently has no meaning for me, but because of the meaning that I'm attaching basis my belief system, his action triggers that belief, and then I put on that filter, and that's where I start to view him from, that he is judgmental, he doesn't like me, he thinks this, or he thinks high of himself, whatever. It's all coming from my belief system and the whole meaning that I attach to it. So that's where, and why must I do this? What's the whole point of this? The point is that because I have control, I can exercise control only over myself. And as I do more of this, I will realize actually it's just about me. It's what I am thinking, whatever I'm creating out of it, that's giving me the experience. And that is an aha moment, I can tell you. And we each have our own aha moments. They arrive at different points, but it's going to be so empowering, that okay, I can really take charge of it. I have the power to turn around my experience. And it all boils down to not proving somebody right or wrong, because even if I prove the other person wrong, that hey, I'm right and what I think is absolutely correct, so what? So what? Does it get you what you really desire? Does it give you the experience internally? What is like a fulfilling, exciting experience of the joy that we're talking about? That will come when you are really able to feel and have and create that experience yourself, because only you can do that. People outside are going to come in all shapes and forms. They will have their whole lot of stuff that they bring to the table. What can you do about it? So, the whole thing is that if I can just turn inwards, I can go through this whole process of asking questions to myself. Number one, I get into this habit of asking, what about it is triggering me? What about it is triggering me? Okay, here, what about this is triggering me? The moment I have this, I'm sorry, little unpleasant feeling, what about it is triggering me? If I just kind of remember this every time, and that comes with practice, I'll miss out maybe 5 times, but 3 times I'm going to remember and ask. And when I go through that whole cycle of, so what does this mean to me, what is it, what's the significance, etc., etc., then I reach somewhere. And even more amazing, more powerful, you write it down. Write it down. And probably you do that in that moment. You had an interaction come out on your desk, quickly do that. And I can tell you a whole new world opens up for you. Hi Manju ma'am. So absolutely, I think yes, we need to have the remote in our hand and not to be judgmental. True. And I think like Mukta said, it's easier said than done, surely, but what you're saying is absolutely right. The only thing is, the key is to keep doing it, to be at it, to be okay with, okay, I missed out, that's fine. I felt disempowered, it's fine. But can I just ask this question to myself? Can I just do this again? Okay, this time I missed out, next time can I catch myself? So bringing that awareness to every interaction and being mindful of, what am I doing? If I start to catch myself, oh, what am I doing again, the focus is here. Again, I'm judging the other person. Again, this is happening. It then kind of becomes a game that you start to enjoy, because it's about you playing that game with yourself, and it beautifully connects you with yourself. And I think there's nothing more fulfilling than you getting connected with yourself, right? So the more you discover, the more you connect with yourself, the more you're able to help yourself arrive at, what is it that's holding me back? Where am I stuck? So much that my whole attention is on these other people, and I'm deriving all my experiences through them, from them. Does that work? Is it exciting? Is that something I so want? No. I'm sure the answer would be no. You don't want the remote to be in somebody else's hand, right? So I think the whole crux, one point I want to say is, in terms of action, what is triggering me? What is triggering me here in this scenario? You have the worst conversation that you could possibly have. What about it triggered me? Ask that question, still ask that question, where you are literally forced to come to a conclusion that it was the other person. Look at the way he spoke, how abusive he was, how arrogant he was. Still ask that question, still go through that exercise. I bet you will still have things opening up for you. I can guarantee that. Just have the courage and commitment to do it. Don't shove it aside, because we're not conditioned. We feel, what a waste. I know this is what happened, and it's going to take me a while to come out of it. The moment you start to do this, you'll see you'll be able to snap out of it over time. Doesn't happen instantly, but over time, because you take charge, right? So don't penalize yourself. Don't pull yourself down when you're not able to do it. Be at it. Just bring that awareness. It goes away, no problem, bring it back, but be at it. And I think that's the key. You'll fall down, you'll find yourself still blaming sometimes. That's okay, no problem, as long as you're able to bring that awareness and be at it and do it again and again. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely, Mukta. It's वो बोलते हैं ना, मेरी लड़ाई मुझी से है. Actually, that's such a powerful thing, that when you understand there's nothing outside, and that's a journey. It takes time for us to really get it, not logically, not at the level of knowledge, but to get it. When you experience that, I fought with the other person, I abused him, I shouted, and yet I know that it's about me. And I think that's very, very powerful, because then you're on the path, you're on track, right? So absolutely, so agree with this. Great. So I think that's it. I hope this was meaningful. As always, I'm going to say just one thing. Please go ahead, apply this, start doing this, come back, share your experiences. That's what makes it worthwhile. That's what makes it meaningful. And if you feel stuck, if you think there is some question around it, you tried it and then you had a certain experience and you want to share it, or you have a question around it, please go ahead and ask. Drop in a message underneath the video, or maybe send a direct message if you want. But please take action. Without action, no results, no changes, right? And equally important is sharing. So go ahead and do that as well. I hope this was meaningful. If yes, then let me know by writing into me. And I'm going to see you next Sunday, same time, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Till then, have a great week ahead. Take lots of action. Be aware, bring more awareness to what you're doing. That's where it all starts. And sending you lots of love, lots of happiness. Take care. Have a great, great week ahead. Thank you, Mukta. Thank you, everybody else. Thank you for joining in. And I hope this was valuable.